This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
It is bedlam. It is pandemonium. It is fandemonium.
Welcome, fellow Bills fans, to 24/7 Bills Fandemonium with the K-Gun Report. I'm your host, Jared. Tonight we have joining us Scott.
Oh, Bills.
And Swank.
What's up?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Beautiful.
Hey, good. We're excited.
Yeah.
First episode, huh?
Yeah, number one. So you guys can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and our handles are on the tracker right below us. Throughout the season, we're going to keep that tracker filled with updated stat lines, injury reports, anybody added to any lists, fantasy football even, and we're also going to have Buffalo Bills news and 24/7 Bills Fandemonium news. All right, so we have a couple topics that we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss, first of all, we're going to discuss the offseason acquisitions and how that's going to benefit the Buffalo Bills. And we're going to discuss within that the reserve COVID, people who have opted out in any signings and stuff like that. Next, we're going to touch on Star Latulier, his opting out, and how that's specifically going to affect that defensive line and their rotation scheme that we all think that they're going to be doing this year. And then we're going to end with what everybody's been talking about lately is our two safeties back there, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, getting snubbed in the top 100. All right, guys, let's get after it. So we have a couple guys that were on COVID reserve, Simon Neal, Dane Jackson, Duke Williams, but we did get back Vincent Taylor today, which is great news. That means whatever protocol that they're doing is working. Last couple days, we've signed Brian Winters, guard, cornerback, Akeem King, nose tackle or defense tackle, Niles Scott. So that's exciting as well. Guys, what are these new guys coming in going to do for our team this year? Scott, I'm going to start with you.
Well, right off the bat, we'll start off with filling that John Feliciano void with Mr. Winters there. Has a history of injuries, but, Bean and McDermott didn't waste any time bringing him in. I think he was less than 24 hours before the Bills went ahead and I don't know how much they paid for him, but they swiped him up. Automatically fills that right guard void. Strong blocker. He's got 7 or 8 years under his belt, so he's experienced and he's bringing leadership to that locker room, which we all know about that culture that they're building there. And there's no doubt that it won't take long for him to mend. I know one of his stats that Bean and McDermott both like are the snaps per sack numbers. Now, they brought in Morris 2 years ago, who only had like 1 sack given up with over 300 snaps. And then the same story goes for Mr. Winters here is 346 snaps and 1 sack.
You can't beat that.
Numbers don't lie. And it's a Jets offensive line, I mean, that's kind of with a rookie quarterback, that's kind of telling you a lot. So I like that pickup. I definitely like the Winters pickup. And the other, I mean, they had to fill the voids with that Niles Scott kid, but that Kareem cornerback there,
King.
What was it? Kareem King, 6'3", 215 pounds. He's a big body guy, and Pete Carroll didn't have enough to say about him. He's a utility guy, which we know the Bills absolutely love to use. But he also expressed, Carroll that is, that King can cover tight ends well. That's 6'3", 215 pounds. I don't see any problem with that. So he may be jumping right in and filling that nickel back or dime back role. But he's got to compete because we have a lot of depth there.
Very true, and especially because EJ Gaines opted out, so that's going to help with that. And then you got Dane Jackson, who's on the reserve COVID, and then we also have another cornerback, Isaiah Brown, who's on the COVID reserve now too. So getting the guys in to fill in for that cornerback spot is going to be very important. Yeah, and even that Brian Winters, they'll sign him right away. And that's exciting. Swank, is there anybody that's on that list that we signed, or anybody that's on that reserve that makes you nervous that they're on the reserve?
I mean, I'm just pumped on the Winters signing. It's another big testament to Bean and the way he does business. A couple of days ago, when Feliciano went down, he was talking about all the guys that could back him up, and even mentioned Spencer Long as a possibility. And this guy is a ninja, like still sending up smoke signals, go out and get Winters the next day after he gets cut from the Jets, and then ends up letting go of Spencer Long. So it's like you just never know where he's going to go. He jukes left and right, and he keeps you on your toes, and he always makes like the smartest decisions for depth on this team. I mean, the competition behind that right guard position now is crazy. I think it's Winter's job to lose as long as he comes in, plays hard, stays healthy. But it was just huge. I mean, Feliciano was like the big thing that happened in the last week, where you're like, oh man, you had these same guys. Josh is going into his third year. They're comfortable. He loves Feliciano. And you're thinking, man, like, what's going to happen now? And then, bam, you fill him. Like, literally, like, within the same week. And
you don't have to move anybody around either.
No.
He fills that spot. Now you don't have to bring Ford over from right tackle and figure out if Darrell Williams is going to hold up that right tackle spot. You don't have to do any of that. Now you can use Darrell Williams kind of like they used Ty last year with Ford, switching them playing scenario football. You could do that all along the line now.
Yeah.
Did you not want to say Ty's last name, Scott?
Naseki. You say the first name, I'll say the last name, and then we'll
Ty.
cover each. Naseki.
There you go.
I always jack that last name up, so there's no way. People know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The old man on the right tackle side, Mr. Ty, we'll call him.
Dude, that's going to be a thing on the stream from now on. You get all the hard names.
Yeah, there you go. That linebacker they picked up from Pittsburgh, number 44, Matovic. Tyler, yeah, something like that.
He's gonna have a long nameplate on the back of that jersey.
Yeah.
See, my last name is Reed, so it's easy. Reed.
Yeah.
You can't mess that up.
R-E-A-D, right?
R-E-I-D.
There you go. There you go.
All right, guys, fellas, I just want to throw in here another thing about Feliciano. I know Brian Winter just signed with the Buffalo Bills, but he's a great player. But we just did a story on 24/7 Bills Fandemonium last week on Feliciano and how he's a go-getter. He's a tough guy. And when he's healthy, this is another thing about the team that Bean and McDermott are creating. He's going to come back full force. So Winters is going to have to keep it up and keep strong in order to keep that position, in October, November. If he's doing well, obviously he'll keep it, but Feliciano's not going to make it easy for him, I don't feel.
No, I mean, I think that's what's beautiful about the way they've built this team. I mean, so right now you still have competition for that right guard position, even though you signed Winters, and he's got to prove it still. And then I'm assuming he's going to prove it, and then Feliciano's going to come in and be like, that's my spot. So now you got these two dudes trying to play absolutely at the top of their game to protect our boy Josh Allen, and that's the only thing you can ask for out of this whole team. If every position has that kind of competition, I mean, and I think if you look around at all the positions, anything that you even considered a little bit weak, there's a healthy amount of competition there. When you're talking about the E.J. Gaines opt-out, you know what I mean? You still have Norman and Wallace and blah, blah, blah. You go down the line, and it's, I don't know. It just doesn't worry me too much,
It's a weird feeling to finally have depth.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier this week. It's weird that 17-year drought that we had. When they cut 10, 15 players before the season even started, you knew maybe 7 or 8 of those names. Now they drop down to 80. When they drop down to the 53-man roster, or if they agree to do a little more, you're going to know the names they're getting rid of, and you're going to be going, I wonder why they got rid of that guy, because he could potentially be a Bills starter in past years. He definitely would have been on the starting team. So it's a nice feeling to have. Unfortunately, people are going to get cut, but it's a good feeling knowing that we have the depth to where we can cut some of the good players.
It's very exciting.
And going back to that line, Deion Dawkins got that left tackle spot. Spain just signed a deal. He's not going to give up that left guard spot. And Morris has got that big deal going on. The center spot's taken care of. So it is basically that right side of the line that we're going to jump back and forth with to see who's going to win those starting positions.
Yeah, let the competition begin. That's what's exciting about this training camp this year is, you're not going to get the preseason games to where you can see the 100% action. You know what I mean? Because I got a feeling during these training camps, players are going to say they're giving 100%, but do you really line up and tag your teammates, future teammates? So that competition will be fun to watch, and it should be interesting to see who falls into place. It's going to be awesome.
It'll just
Especially
be
with
weird
the-
not seeing any football, and then all of a sudden, bam, week 1.
Bam.
That's going to
Yeah.
be really weird to see. But
And hopefully they bring their hats.
yep, they better.
All right, so guys, this year, a little bit different off season than what we're used to due to this COVID-19. Players getting thrown on the reserve in the COVID-19 list. That's what's new this year is that list. We never had it before. And they have it for a reason. They have it because they knew that there was a potential that players are going to be going on it. So people are getting upset and anxious. Just relax. It's part of the protocol. They knew this was going to happen. That's why they have that list. And like I said, Vincent Taylor just came off of it. So that's very promising. That being said, also this year, the NFL gave players, and I think they have to Thursday, they just signed the CBA, the option to opt out of the season. Now, I'm not 100% on what the numbers are, but if you opt out and you have no medical history or anything that's compromised, I think it's $150,000 that they get. But if they have a medical reason why they opt out, I think it's like $325,000. Anyway, money being set aside. We had a big guy opt out pretty early in Star Lotulelei. He's a big guy up front. His numbers look kind of deceiving due to the fact that he doesn't make much tackles or sacks, but he's in there to take up a lot of blocks, which frees up our linebackers and frees up other defensive linemen.
Sure does.
So, if at all, how do you think Star's departure, we'll say, is going to affect that defensive line rotation? Swank, let's start with you.
I really don't think it's going to be that big a deal. I think he'll be missed. Obviously, he's a big guy, takes up 2 blockers, all that stuff that we've been hearing for weeks and weeks and years now. You got to remember, Horrible Harry's coming back. I think a lot of people were sleeping on him. They're saying that maybe he wouldn't even make the team this year if it was going to be a real season without all this COVID stuff. And with the signings and the amount of depth, again, it's almost the same thing with the O-line. You got interchangeable players that can come in and wreak havoc, and I think do just as good a job as Star Lotulelei. Ed Oliver, he's going to be on a tear. I don't see it being as big of an issue as it has been in years prior, where you were dependent on 1 or 2 players on that defensive line to get the job done.
I agree with you. I mean, the depth chart, they filled that up with depth, and they filled it with a guy that I think will make us not miss Lotulelei at all. That Vernon Butler kid from Carolina. He signed a 2-year, $15 million contract with us. He's a former first-rounder. He's only 26 years old, and he's 6'4", 330 pounds. 330-pound defensive tackle is going to take up 2 blockers. Anyways, so they filled that void as far as I'm concerned with Lotulelei. I liked him being here and playing. He took up the 2 blockers all the time, like Jared said, and he doesn't get a lot of stats, but I think Vernon Butler will hold that position down. And like I said, we won't miss Lotulelei. And unfortunately for Lotulelei, I forget how old he is, but with Butler being 26, who knows what happens next year? Who knows what happens next year with Butler if he becomes a starter and they plan on him being starting again next year. Lotulelei is an expensive 4th defensive tackle.
Yeah, I think he's due 4.5 next year. And with the way the whole COVID thing works out, they're just skipping this year, basically putting on hold, and the next 2 years of his contract are going to be 21 and 22. So I think it's 4.5 next year he's old, and then 2.5 the year after that. So
I wish I was old, $2.5 million.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. But I have a question about the these athletes on the line, right? So we don't really hear much of any of the players saying how they're going to be rotating. You know what I mean? It's obvious that we think they're going to because of past seasons that they've rotated. You see players running in and out. Do you think there's anybody on that defensive line that's saying, no, I'm going to play all 4 I'm going to play all 4 downs? Or you think they're unselfish and they're going to just rely on trusting the process and trusting on what Frazier has to say, and they're just going to do the rotation? Scott, I'll let you go with that.
Think about who they have on their defensive line, and that'll answer your question for you. Oliver came in last year to a rotating scheme. Harrison Phillips doing great in the rotating scheme, and he's a big-time Buffalo Bill supporter, the city of Buffalo supporter, but he also was part of that scheme, and he enjoyed that part of the scheme. You brought in Addison, who they brought him in just to be a sack specialist. Pin your ears back. It's a passing down, so he knows that's when he's going to go in. So he understands he's not going to play all 3 downs. Who else?
Jerry. I mean, Jerry's been there, been a staple of the line for years, and I think the whole thing is the buzzword, man, or like the phrase, the trust the process. I mean, these guys believe in McDermott and Leslie, and they love him, and they play hard for him. So I think it's more of a team. It's just like the snubbed 100 best player list thing that we keep talking about, where like they're completely underrated, even though they're a top 3 defense, and they realize that as a unit they play best together. So I don't know, man. I don't see a lot of ego on that. I think there's a lot more like a bigger chip on their shoulders playing Sunday, with people still like underestimating them, even though they've accomplished like some pretty unreal things. I mean, setting the blueprint to beat the Ravens when nobody else could, and all this stuff. I don't know. I really don't see like a lot of turmoil. I think there's a lot of leadership in the locker room, and I just really think people respect McDermott. Like, and he seems to care for all of them, like in a fatherly kind of way almost. Like, I mean, he says he loves them like their family, and nobody's dogging Latule and Gaines for opting out. It's all love and like whatever they need to do for their family. So, I mean, I don't know. I think some of that you can feign, but for the most part, the play is proven that the players buy into it, and I just don't think there's an ego there.
With all these very talented defensive linemen that we have, they're going to be hungrier if you think about it. If they go out there and they have a play where they were maybe a hand away from strip sack, or getting their hands on, let's say, Darnold, and then they come out and their buddy goes in and gets a sack. So the next drive, they're going to be motivated to, hey, man, I got to get one on you because you got one on me. So it's going to be fun to see that camaraderie of the defensive line come together and motivate each other. And, man, if they get hot, look for an exciting defense. Not, top 5 again. We were top 3 last year, but if we get going, don't be afraid to – don't be shocked if we're number 1. And that's going to be exciting to watch. And that's just the front. That's just our front. That's not even our linebacking crew and the studs that we have backing up that defense. It's going to be exciting to watch.
I'm stoked for Ed Oliver, man. I think he's going to come out with a fire. Like, he's got something to prove. Yeah, with all that bogus stuff that happened to him, and he did it exactly the right way. And there was people for months talking about, like, here we go, another young player made a stupid decision, got a DWI, got a gun charge, this is exactly what we expected, that kind of stuff. And he didn't seem like that kind of guy anyway, but he just kept his mouth shut, he went through it, and then as soon as he got cleared of all charges, came out and was like, yeah, that was messed up, and I'm going to take it out on I'm taking out on every other team in the NFL, man.
And you never see a young guy not say anything.
No.
That's why it was weird to watch, and we were getting impatient with the results because he wasn't saying anything, and that shows his maturity level, and that's what you want in the locker room. And, wait till everything is settled, wait until the smoke is settled, and then come out and say what you have to say.
Yep.
Good for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good for him.
And
that's the culture.
Yeah. Well, speaking of chips on their shoulders, our rookie there, Epinesa. I'm sorry, I was monkeying with the Zoom. It was giving me a problem there, but I don't know if you mentioned
we didn't even
mention
him yet, did we?
Oh, no. That guy's got a chip on his shoulder. He was here in all off season, and the moments leading up to the draft is you're a first rounder, and to be passed by everyone in the first round, and then to go that many spots to Buffalo, that kind of put a little chip on his shoulder. And with this not having an off season, it works. I think it works out perfect for that kind of a rough rushing style for him. It's just the bull rush. He's got long arms. You see a lot of his highlight videos. He's not getting to the quarterback with his body, but those long arms are reaching. He's causing a lot of those sack fumbles that you like to see, those turnovers. And just to tell him, put your head down, go get the quarterback with no line preparation in the offseason, preseason, and all that stuff. That's going to benefit him, especially with that rotating defensive line.
Yeah, I can definitely see offenses at the beginning of the year. If you're playing fantasy football, running the ball first to establish the tempo of the game. Because of that, defensive linemen are going to be going after it. And I think defensive players have that mentality where they're going to go 110%. And offensive, you kind of receive, it's read and react for the defense. You're just reacting. Where the offense is, you're going forward. And who knows how much of a percentage of your ability you're giving on offense where the defense is going to be coming at you. So look for a lot of running in the first couple of weeks to so the teams can establish some contact and establish how the flow of the game is going to start happening. It's be interesting to watch.
Oh yeah.
And you all right over there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Zoom is giving me problems. You guys keep going.
Oh, we got you fine over here for us, but.
Yeah. All right. Are you guys getting any kind of warning there? I have this. This prescription is due the 12th. And it's giving me
your prescription or subscription?
My prescription.
No, okay.
It says its remaining meeting time is 4 minutes, but we'll see what happens at 4 minutes because I got it till the 12th and it automatically goes.
Recycles.
It automatically cycles. So Let's see what it does. It's probably gonna say congratulations, you have more time.
Yeah, just give us a little hiccup on our first show.
Naturally,
you got to get that pressure, or else it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right, can we fit the next topic in the 3.5 minutes? Probably not.
So guys, whoever's watching, just if we go blank, just wait for us. We'll be back. We'll let you know where we're going to be, and we'll do another half-hour plug. Justin, you mentioned snubbed, or Swank, you mentioned being snubbed a little bit ago. Yeah. You want to get on those two fellas that are snubbed on our team back there in the secondary? I mean, if you look at the numbers now, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer were snubbed in the top 100, but picked by the NFL player. So you can argue either way. The NFL players picked it. It wasn't any coaches or anybody else. So there's an argument there. I think because they work so well together and they're not individualized, that's where the snub comes out, because it's just they play well together. They play better as a team as an individual. And if you have an individual standing out, yeah, your team might be successful, but why is only one player standing out on that secondary? What are you guys' thoughts on either Poyer or Hyde or both of them being snubbed on the top 100?
I think it's it's pretty typical for any sort of talented player in Buffalo for the last 20 years. It's kind of a shame. Like I said, I like being the underdog. I like that people sleep on them. I think they feed into that. But they're known as like a duo, a tandem, and they even got snubbed on like the best tandem list, like the top 5 best safety tandems in the NFL. You're on like the top 3 defense, and you get snubbed on the top 5 tandem safety.
Right.
Like I don't know, like all that stuff is kind of garbage. I mean, I think it's a lot of fodder for the off season. But these guys pay attention to it. I mean, Poyer especially got completely snubbed in every way, just for any sort of credit or like recognition of his play. Ever since he came over from Cleveland, I mean, the guy's been nothing but lights out. Micah too, but Micah had a little bit more clout before he came to the team, and he continues to, And without like that big splash play Micah had last year, I mean, it's like they quietly have a good season because the whole secondary has a good season. And Micah kind of stood out a little bit because of that crazy 360 kickoff return in the Miami game to end it, But they both made fantastic plays, and I think Poyer had a career year. So it's a shame. I don't mind it. I think it'll feed them up, and I think at least one of them will be on the list next year.
You would hope so.
Yeah, and I was
I
gonna
mean,
ask that question too because
go ahead.
go ahead, Scott.
I got a thought real quick. It's not their first year doing it. That's where I think recognition probably should have been made this year. Since 2017, I'm looking at some real quick stats. As a duo since 2017, they have 514 tackles, which is second among the top 10 duos. They've had 5 sacks, which is third ranking, 19 interceptions, which is second again in the top 10. And then they beat everybody out with 199.1 passing yards a game. They're top as a duo. And that, like I said, it just didn't happen last year. This has been happening since 2017.
Check, check. Hey guys, sorry about that technical difficulty. Had a little trouble with the Zoom meeting. We're gonna try and get it back up. We were going back and forth about how Poyer and Hyde had gotten snubbed, and I think it's kind of like a commentary on most Bills players in the last, drought years. Um, Hopefully this new regime turns everything around. I've been thinking a lot about the playoffs, just the season in general. If we make it into that next round and hopefully win a playoff game, how different it's going to be and how exciting it'll really be for the city, and hopefully just change the narrative on all of this ridiculous BS. It looks like we got this Zoom meeting set up real quick, and let me just click to the logo and we'll be back in a couple minutes, all right?
All right, guys, welcome back to the K-Gun Report. We had a little glitch there, but we're back. So hopefully you guys stayed with us. We gave you a little warning about 10 minutes ago, but here we go. We're talking about Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer being snubbed, we'll call it. But we had Scott going on a little conversation piece, and we'll have him continue if he remembers where he left off.
A little rant, as you will.
Yeah.
No, I was just going off the fact that I agree. Sometimes they put those two together as a duo, and that's how they're going to grade them. But before we got kicked off by Zoom, I was telling you the stats in the last 3 years are pretty remarkable, and definitely number one duo quality. And it shouldn't be that this year. The decision for the players to have these guys be in the top 100, at least one of them should have been made this year, and I'm kind of annoyed by it, to be truthful.
Well, yeah, if you're going off by numbers for the last 3 years, I don't know if you know the difference between each player, but Poyer definitely is the one that should be on the list if you're going strictly by numbers. Let me throw you some quick separate highlights. Jordan Poyer had 11 interceptions. Hyde had 8. Forced fumbles, 4 for Poyer. Fumble recoveries, 5 for Poyer and 2 for Hyde. Sacks. Actually, Poyer is the sack master when it comes to the safety blitzes. And then about an 80 tackle difference, Poyer above Micah Hyde. But that being said, even though they're both back there, they're two very different safety positions, free safety and safety. So, in their own respect, you got to give them that. They're both beasts back there. And to be honest with you, if they get snubbed next year and the year after, if they have rings on their fingers by the end of 2020, and they're the best defense in the league.
Dude, it took one episode of the podcast and live stream.
We're going to the Super Bowl. Well, Jared, I'm going to ask you this.
Optimistic fan base here.
Jared and Swank, give me one word when I tell you this, okay? The fact that Jordan Poyer is not in the top 100 NFL Network, chosen by the players, not in the top 100. One word, and no swearing.
Oh.
Budda Baker for the Cardinals, safety, is in that top 100.
Yeah. Yeah, one word, huh? And we can't curse?
Yep.
Garbage.
No, I haven't watched many Cardinal games, so I don't.
Budda's a great
really
player, man.
But
I'm not saying he's not. He's a good player, but
I don't know.
They're putting him with Jamal Adams at 27, Minkah Fitzpatrick at 35, Tyrann Mathieu at 39, Harrison Smith at 64, and Earl Thomas at 75. And then you got Budda Baker.
It seems like
I can see 4 of those on there.
It seems like the same kind of camp that keeps saying that like Sam Darnold's a better quarterback than Josh Allen, even though Josh Allen has the games and the record and the playoff, appearance to
on his resume.
Yeah, he hasn't seen ghosts. He hasn't gotten some disease that 13-year-old girls get. Like, there's a lot of positives that Josh Allen.
Hey, I had mono.
Like, rest my case,
There you go. Let's throw this out there. Ready? Since we're talking about the top 100. Trey White, 47, right? And the reason I'm bringing him up is because, rightfully so, he should be in the 100. His arch rival there in Stephon Gilmore, 9. Okay, that's what, a 38-point difference? That's a 38-rank difference? Tell me the difference in the numbers between Stephon Gilmore and Trey White. Normally, you would not be able to do this because different divisions, different conferences, all this stuff. But they play the same exact wide receivers, the same exact teams, 12 out of the 16 games, and Trey White's numbers are better than his around the board. Okay,
yeah. Consistency.
So it's consistent, and like I said, you can say different divisions and all that stuff, but they're in the same damn division and they play the same damn teams all the time. And Trey White is still getting screwed. Sorry, and Stephon Gilmore is sitting there holding every play and getting away with it and getting ranked number 9, top 10.
He's a Patriot.
Well, I think you just nailed it on the head there. Go ahead, Swank. I'll let you take this over.
No, that's all I had to say. He's a Patriot. That's it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at.
It's just the market, and that's it.
And it's all around. You hate to bring the Patriots into this conversation, but you brought up Stephon Gilmore. The fact of the matter is, When an offensive line doesn't have a holding penalty all game, there's something going on with the referee and the umpiring of the game. That being said, if you watched film on Sherman, and then let's throw Gilmore in there, their hands-on is ridiculous when they're covering these receivers. They're not getting the penalties.
It's
I don't
because
know
they
if you have
earn
the
the
stat
respect.
for what Trey White has for pass interference or defensive holding, but he seems to have more of a clean approach to defending. And it's like Revis back in the day. Revis, he got away with a little bit of hands-on, but his technique was amazing. And I feel like Trey White is following right behind Revis. He's going to be the next White Island, we'll say, or Trey Mountain, we'll call it. I don't know. Did I just start something? Maybe. But
Get it trending, dude.
some of these guys, some of these cornerbacks on this top 100 get away with a lot of hands-on stuff. And like you said, you can't differentiate between divisions because Gilmore and White are in the same division.
Yeah.
White had better numbers. So it's, but it's not stats. They're not looking at stats and breaking it down. They're asking the players who do they think is the top people. And like I said, consistency. Gilmore's been doing this for how many years? But that being said as well, and the difference between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots, Gilmore wasn't that good at Buffalo, was he?
Tell me how many pass interference
calls.
How many pass interference calls? How many holdings did he get called for there? And all of a sudden, those penalties are gone when he went to New England. That's why a lot of Bills fans, we didn't like Stephon Gilmore. I know I wasn't a big fan of his because of the penalties, and they all of a sudden all disappeared.
I didn't like him because I remember games where he would get completely torched or blow his assignment, and a guy would catch a touchdown in the corner of the end zone, and he would be pointing at other guys on the field. And that's not what you do. That's not what this team does right now. There's no way. I don't know. I've never seen anybody on the field pointing fingers at anybody else. If anybody blows an assignment, they know it, and they're hitting their chest, being like, "It's on me," And he's not that kind of player. And I mean, it was just the perfect storm for him to go. It sucks that he left and we didn't get anything for him. And it would have been great maybe to have Trey and him play together for a couple of years, but whatever. I'm fine. It's the same. I've gotten on the soapbox before.
Yeah.
I don't like these players that quit on the team or like that trying to pass blame. That's why I mean Jason Peters is an amazing athlete and he'll go into the Hall of Fame and whatever. And dude, when he admitted that he quit on the team way back when and because he didn't get his contract, I was done. I don't care if you're on the team or not, man. Go home. So that's the way I feel about that.
That's how you feel. And that's Swank's corner.
And that's my corner. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, then if we're going to talk about other players besides Poyer and Hyde getting snubbed, again, the players are voting on this, and they voted 87, Josh Allen. You have a lot of professional analysis, sirs. Hey, what's the word I'm looking for?
Analysts?
Analysts, there we go.
Analyst?
Oh, man, I just lost. Anyway, that say that he doesn't deserve it, right?
Yeah.
They say he doesn't deserve it. Okay. It was voted on by the players. He deserves everything he gets. 87? All right, we'll take it. Sure. I thought he's a very good quarterback. You just got to watch the games. Maybe it's not all the time about throwing 300 yards passing. It's the determination of getting that first down against the Dallas Cowboys. Being there for the teammates when they're doing well, when he's playing a mediocre game, but his teammates are stepping up. It's not all about the numbers all the time. I guarantee you, everyone that voted him into that top 87 wish that he was on their team.
Oh yeah,
the kid plays with heart, and that wins a lot of votes. That beats out anybody that just plays without the heart that he has. Statistics, I throw statistics out the window. Statistics, everybody wants that 300-yard game. There's a lot of things that come with statistics, fellas. You have 5,000 passing yards and 40 touchdowns every year. That they'll be able to pay you in 2 years, but they won't be able to pay anybody else. Josh Allen he knows what his job is. I'm going to get 3,000 to 4,000 yards passing. I'm going to get 20 to 25 touchdown passes, and I'll run for 8, and I'll run for 600 yards. And I might know that I'm not going to get that $50 million contract a year, but I'll take a $30 million contract a year and be able to have everybody else on my team get paid. It's statistics are people are obsessed with passing percentage. He needs to be 63%. Okay, he was 58% last year. That's 5% difference. Do you know that's just like two receptions a game?
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. And
Right.
it's all situational. A lot of his passes were dropped. There was a lot of third and longs. So that's a situational, you're forcing the ball out in those occasions. 58% compared to Breeze and all that stuff is not impressive. But Jim Kelly went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row throwing 58%.
Yeah. I mean, you look at like Lamar Jackson, right? And he's not throwing a ton of 300-yard games, and nobody's complaining, and that's because they're winning,
Yep.
and they're winning dominantly.
Dominantly, yeah.
And so yeah, I look at him as pretty similar. I mean, I know Lamar Jackson is more of a run-first kind of guy and whatever. I don't think he's as strong of a passer as Josh Allen. Maybe Josh Allen with the whole accuracy argument, and I can see people kicking up dirt about that. But I don't know, man. His heart, the fourth quarter comebacks, he's a clutch guy. The
inside the 20 percentage passing,
Yeah.
the inside the red zone percent, that's where it counts, guys.
Yeah, you got guys like John Brown and Cole Beasley who love the guy and respect the guy and have had career years in one season in Buffalo. It's I don't know. I think ever since he was in the draft, before he got drafted, he's had a bum rap, and now he's in a place where he fits exactly. And I'm looking for him to take a big step this year and prove everybody wrong. And they'll still hate on him.
They'll still hate him, but he likes it. He thrives off of that.
You know what? That whole path that he's taken, you got to look at the path that he's taken. He played high school football. He wasn't recruited. Okay, he played JUCO. Then he finally went to Wyoming. Right, he got hurt there. He was
broken collarbone.
Broken collarbone.
Yeah, how's that feel, Scott?
He's had a rough road, and he absolutely loves it in Buffalo. So you have someone like Dak Prescott that says $35 million is not going to help feed his family. That's ridiculous. Josh Allen won't get offered that, but Josh Allen has that appreciation factor. I always tell people he appreciates the road he's taken, and he is given everything to the Buffalo Bills because they have given him his dream and given him the opportunity to develop into something that he's always wanted to be. And that may knock off, you hate to say it knocks off money, but that may knock off $5 to $7.5 million back to a contract that he'll agree to sign just because of that appreciation factor. That does exist in some players. And let's go back to Star Lotulelei. He took a pay cut.
Yeah.
Because he likes it in Buffalo. And so Josh Allen, when it's time to pay him the money, I believe that he won't take the huge paycheck. If Bill's offered to him, he will, but he's not going to fight. He's not going to fight for unnecessary money.
And he seems like the kind of guy that's going to let his agent do all that wheeling and dealing, but I think there's not going to be a huge discussion about it. I mean, unless he goes off and he takes a huge step and then his whole, some big change happens. But, like, I think quietly they're all going to have, like, their own understanding. And I think Josh is smart enough to know that if he's getting paid astronomical top 2 quarterback money, which he's not going to get, but, like, in the perfect world where he would be getting that, you're not going to have the cast of characters around you to make that stick. You know, you're going to turn into one of these quarterbacks that just falls flat because the team can't spend money on a receiver when you need one, or a corner when you need one, or a defensive end, or a running back, or whatever. And I think he's smart enough to know what they've built. They've built around him, and he
won't be willing to lose it.
No, absolutely, he's integral for the whole thing. So hopefully they have.
You feel like he'd be the type of guy that says, "Hey, how about you pay my guy on the other side on the defensive side over there first before you give me anything."
Yeah.
Let's lock number 27 down before you pay me.
Yeah, right.
Well, 27's contract is due before his anyways.
Yeah, but I'm saying pay him.
But I can see, I mean, we got a lot of people to pay in the next couple of years. The quarterback on the defensive side of the ball, Mr. Edmonds. We got Trey White. We have Deion Dawkins. We have, obviously, Josh Allen. And Swank and I talked about this earlier in the week. Unfortunately, the odd man out is going to be Milano. He's going to be someone that deserves all the money in the world. already named on the most underrated outside linebacker there is in the league. I think we're going to lose him, unfortunately.
Yeah, depending on what team he goes to, he'll be one of those guys you still root for.
Yep. Yep.
All right, guys, let's. We have a little extra time. We kind of hit all 3 topics that we wanted to today, but I got a little extra for you.
The Zoom mess up for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
we got 10.
We got offense and defense. All right, pick one player. We'll start with the offense that you feel. You don't have to go with a necessary, obvious reason. On the offense, who do you feel is going to be the difference maker?
Yes, Scott.
It's going to be Dawson Knox. With the acquisition of Stephon Diggs, with Beasley doing his thing in the middle, and with Brown spreading the field, Diggs is going to spread the field too, so the safeties can't drop and cover that tight end at all. They have to spread out and cover 2 or figure out another defense to cover those 2 deep. And you have a monster running back that they just drafted in Moss, and you have Singletary. Both of those guys are the most nimble running backs in the league. Knox is going to be left wide open. He's faster, more athletic than any linebacker, and he's bigger and stronger, as we saw in the Cincinnati game, than any corner that can cover him. Don't be surprised. I saw it in a couple games, in a couple preseason games last year. I'm going to miss preseason this year, but a couple preseason games last year, Knox a couple times hit down the seam, stride for stride, going into the end zone. Josh Allen missed him a couple times, but watch Knox down the seam. I'm not putting 50 balls, 750 yards by him at all. Potentially hitting 10 touchdowns.
I think they hit one of those seam routes in Miami, didn't he? Score a touchdown on one of those?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. But I'm telling you, the explosive offense now, and the kid, he was quiet because he came from, was it Ole Miss that he came from? I can't remember what college he came from. And
I think so.
I think he had Hollywood Brown on one side and another first-round draft pick on the other. So he was lost. But our genius and a guy named Mr. Bean, who was a hell of a recruiter, he saw that potential and he fell into our lap. So watch Knox, guys. Watch Knox.
So he's going to be kind of like the K-gun, right? Because the K-gun was brought to not by Jim Kelly, but the tight end there, Keith McKellar. So whether Knox gets the ball, if he can establish himself quick, and become a threat, and teams realize that, that's going to be like the K-gun. They're going to have to focus on that tight end, and that's going to open up everything else around. That's a good call. How about Swanky? What do you got, bud?
Oh, man, I'm going with Mr. Cole Beasley. The next jersey I'm going to purchase with his new nice shiny number. I'm going with the same theory that you're going with Knox. I mean, Diggs is going to demand a lot of attention. John Brown had a 1,000-yard season last year. He's going to demand a lot of attention. I think he's the one that's going to suffer the most out of all this as far as receptions are concerned. But Beasley, man, he's that safety net. If Josh is in trouble, that's where he's going, and he's that guy. They really had a huge connection from like halfway through the season on. From that Dallas game on, it was you didn't see Cole miss a whole lot, and he's not a guy known for that. I just think he's going to thrive. I think you're not going to be able to do anything about Stephon Diggs. You're going to have to double him most of the time. John Brown, you got to have some safety help or something too with him. Like, Bees is going to be open a lot. And if he's not open, I think Knox is going to be open. What we really need to worry about is whether Josh can see that this year. And this year he should be able to see all of that. Like, that's the big step for him. I think Bees is going to have another career year. And he'll be one of the most integral parts in that offense.
No, I agree. I was talking about this earlier in the week. It's the same concept. The middle is going to be wide open, and Beasley thrives in the middle, as we knew in Dallas and in Buffalo. And with Knox now, I'll go back to the Knox thing. If he does draw that attention, that safety's not going to drop down and cover the middle anymore. That safety's got to be worried about Knox going down the seam. And that linebacker is going to turn a lot quicker now to cover that seam or that out pattern that Knox is going to run. So now what do you have? If you have a nickel defense, you have one linebacker against Beasley. If you have a base defense, if you have a dime defense, you have exactly Beasley. I don't see anybody covering him.
Yeah.
because Knox is going to make that big of a difference.
Yeah.
And it can go both ways. It
Just
could be
the two
Knox.
players. That's a tight end and slot guy.
Yeah, it could
That's
be
not
Knox
even our
making the
number
big
one.
difference. Yep.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you give Josh Allen or any NFL team, at that matter, a number one wide receiver, a legit number one.
Yeah.
So, yep, I agree with you, Justin.
You guys want to hear what my offensive difference maker is going to be?
Nope.
Kenny
What's
Davis.
the next topic?
Kenny Davis.
Kenny Davis. No, so here we go. Ready? So we
Yeah.
can go with the obvious with Josh Allen, but he's that kind of quarterback where he's going to run the ball often. He's going to take his bumps and bruises. My difference maker is going to be Matt Barkley coming in 2 or 3 games and winning them. And that's going to be the difference between home field advantage during the playoffs and playing in that first week.
Matt
Barkley's my guy.
Wow.
Him and Josh Allen have become very close. And I feel like Josh Allen's learning a lot from the veteran, but I think the vet is learning a lot from this young kid.
Yeah.
And I feel when he comes into the game, which I think he's going to have to, and I don't want any injuries on our quarterback, but he's that kind of quarterback who's going to take the bumps and bruises. Matt Barkley has to win 2 games this year.
I see what you're
And he
saying. Allen's going to take the bumps and bruises, so Barkley will have to come in and either – is he getting the wins or is he like finishing off the games? You have him finishing off the games and maybe coming back?
No, I have him when he has to finish off games, he kind of struggles because he's kind of thrown in there.
Right.
But when he starts them,
So you have him
we
starting
saw that
2 to
2
3
years ago
games this
against
year?
the Jets. He'll have to win 2 to 3 games this year, and I think he will. And that will put the Buffalo Bills in a home field advantage, possibly a bye. Well, if you have a home field advantage, you have that bye. So
And you never know, playoff time, we might be allowed to have people in the stands. Hey, hey.
all right, guys, defense. Justin, you want to go first. Difference maker does not have to be the obvious. Who's a difference maker for this Buffalo Bills defense this year?
For the defense. Oh, man. All of them. I mean,
it's hard because they're rotating.
yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're talking about the line, it's it's a heavy rotation. I think Milano's going to earn his money this year, and I think he's going to make it real hard for us to keep him, unless we get rid of Trent Murphy, which I'm 100% for if we can keep Milano. I mean, dude's just like he's a really above average linebacker for the round he went in the draft. He's proven it. He gets the system. Him and Tremaine have a great relationship. Tremaine Edmond, he was just talking about it today on the radio. I don't know. Busting those two up is almost as bad to me as busting up Poyer and Hyde. You know, those guys are young and they're the beefy middle of your defense. Right. And we know Edmonds is hopefully going to be here for a long time. Hopefully the next 20 years.
If he makes the same steps he did from his rookie year to year 2, year 3 is going to be Bobby Wagner style defense, Bobby Wagner style recognition. I think with Tremaine Edmonds. Yeah,
he's a beast, and we already know that. And I think Milano's just like that. He's that quiet guy that just sneaks up on you, and he does his job. You know, he comes in and does his job, and that's what you need. So I think I'm going to go with Milano on this one. I know Edmonds did a lot of rushing when he was in college, and they haven't done a lot of that, like blitz packages with him. They'll do a lot of like that fake out, like maybe Milano will rush the line and then back off, or Edmonds will. Yeah. I'm wondering with this year with Lorenzo being gone and him kind of being like that alternate linebacker end kind of guy, the hybrid position, if they're going to try and put Tremaine in that a little bit more. That would be really interesting to see, especially if they trust Milano enough to hold down the middle of the field like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So. Right. And then if anything, you still have a tall – how tall is he, 6'5"? And he's got those long arms. It's just like having a defensive lineman. Even if he gets blocked, he puts those paws up in the air, he's going to deflect some passes.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my pick, Milano.
Scott, who you got going, man? Who's your defensive playmaker or difference maker for 2020?
I mentioned him earlier, Mr. Vernon Butler, 6'4", 330 pounds. I do believe he is going to make us forget about Letoulier opting out. 26 years old. He signed a 2-year, $15 million contract, so he's not just here for 1 year. They'll be signing him for an extension, I think, in 2 years. Vernon Butler, I think he's 26. He's still young. He's got Leslie Frazier, and he's got a slew of young guys at that defensive line, and he's just ready. I mean, he's got a bunch of young guys around him. He's going to enjoy that. He's going to enjoy that company, and I think he'll represent pretty good. He's a big guy. Like I said, he's a big guy. He's 330 pounds. I forget how big Letulier was, but I'm thinking it's pretty comparable. And he's a couple years younger and a little more spry, so he'll be the difference maker, I believe. I mean, Jordan Phillips and Lawson we lost last year. I believe we lost them because they're more money hungry than anything else. But the guys we replaced them with made our defensive line significantly better, I believe. And Butler, I think, if Jordan Phillips can get 6.5 or how long, 9.5 sacks, I think Butler can probably tie those numbers, if not do any better. Vernon Butler, everybody. I said it here.
Vernon, you heard it here.
Real quick on the Phillips and Lawson thing. Lawson went to Miami for like $500,000 more than what Bean and McDermott offered him. So he could have stayed in Buffalo. He earned his stripes, earned his payday, and then for $500,000 more went down to Miami, which I think is bogus. But whatever, that's fine.
Well, that tells you a lot about him. You don't want him here.
Yeah. And but Jordan Phillips, on the other hand, I don't think they offered him anything. I think that he made a season. I loved him. I thought, like I was telling you guys, I think there's like that mayor of Buffalo position like every year, like that one player that champions the whole city and everybody rallies behind. Your Aaron Williams, your Fred Jacksons, Stevie Johnsons, all these guys, Kyle Williams. And I think Jordan Phillips was that guy last year. I think he was that hype man. He was the guy that had that gritty chip on his shoulder, and he loved playing here, I think. I was a little bummed to see him go. I think that's the nature of the beast. No harm, no foul. But Shaq, on the other hand, he had the opportunity to stay, and he didn't.
He had plenty of opportunity to be successful.
He had the opportunity to be a stud, too, and he kind of missed out on that.
Definitely the first couple seasons he was here, for sure.
I mean, on a contract year to only get 6.5 sacks and then preach to the organization that you want a lot more money, and then when they offer you more money, you take a $500,000 increase to go somewhere where you have no idea about. That tells you a lot about the character, and it tells you that he did not want to be in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So good riddance.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Lawson. I wasn't a fan when they picked him, and I wasn't a fan for his measly 6.5 sacks that he got last year for us. Sorry, Shaq.
Sorry, Shaq. All right, guys, I'm going to go with a veteran that is coming into the Buffalo Bills organization this year. And it's a pretty simple one. He's back with a defensive coordinator as a head coach that he was successful with down in Carolina. And it's Norman. I feel like he's going to be the difference maker. He's going to make that defense, this is very optimistically speaking, number one this year. They're going to find that Poyer and Hyde are going to be ranked in the top 100 at 38 and 47. And then they're going to have Trey White at number 11. And then Josh Norman's going to be number 99. Now, that whole secondary is going to be in the top 100 voted by the players. But just kidding. Josh Norman's my guy to be the difference maker on the defense. He's going to surprise a lot of people, I feel. And it's going to be lights out. I can't wait to watch it.
Well, he's playing in that familiar scheme.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He's back into where he was successful.
Yep. We all remember how he played when he played for Carolina in that familiar scheme. So,
yeah,
it'd be crazy if he was that good.
I'd love to see him return to his old form, man. He's that whole like Odell versus him, like those years, and like I don't know, he's very outspoken. He's very confident, and when he was in his Pro Bowl prime, I mean, he's just a nasty dude, Yep. And it was kind of a shame to see him in Washington and kind of dwindle out a little bit.
The Washington football team?
The Washington football team, yeah. And I mean, I just hope that like physically, I hope that those years were more about him having to do more than what really should be expected of somebody to like, cover somebody that I don't know. It seemed like he was the whole secondary. They were really leaning on that, and he was playing a little banged up, right? And he's getting older and all that stuff. I just love to see them put him in some kind of rotation here and have him like just ball out this year, man. Like, especially opposite Trey. How awesome would that be?
Yeah.
You know?
With that supporting cast,
Yeah.
who knows what, you know?
It'd be a great Bills, like a Buffalo story, man. You know, he comes here to end his career, goes out on a high note. It'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
So
real quick before we end it, what are you guys drinking tonight? I'll start off by saying Iron Smoke bourbon whiskey. Fairport's got a place called Iron Smoke. Does a great job. It's actually our Bills Booze of the Year this year, along with Blue Moon. So those two drinks, Bills fans, 24/7 fans, if you're drinking them during game day, send us pictures of them, man. Iron Smoke, Fairport, really good.
Justin, you got any soda pops today?
I do. I got other half's Stocks on Stocks. It's an Imperial IPA. Brewery originally out of Brooklyn. They have Rochester location that's actually in Bloomfield, so I like to say it's a Bloomfield location. It's a nice Imperial India Pale Ale, 8.5%. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Jared, you drinking
I'm
water?
enjoying a nice sour. A nice sour tonight by Brooklyn. Bel Air Sour.
Ooh.
Quick story. When I first bought this, I wanted to try a sour New Year's last year, and I didn't look at the the carrying case. And I'm standing in a line at a local grocery store, and a little kid goes, "Hey, mommy, there's a flamingo on that guy's drinks." And I look at him like, "Oh, okay."
It's my wife's.
Bel Air Sour, delicious if you like the sours.
You guys want to hit up a camera cheers?
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it.
yeah, guys,
Where are
first
the alarm
show.
flag?
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Cheers,
Cheers,
bro.
guys.
Cheers.
All right. Well, in the closing, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the Fandemonium for watching us or going to the YouTube connection site and watching us later. We're very much appreciative, guys. We like the fan base that's going on in this Buffalo Bills organization. We've always loved the Bills Mafia. But we started this page and really started rolling at the beginning of this year, and it's growing quickly. And we love the stories. We love the comments. We encourage you to give your opinions on everything. And we just love talking football, and that's why we're here. And, guys, good show for first one. Thank you for participating.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday night,
as
right?
always. Yeah, every Tuesday night at 9:30 till kind of like tonight. We kind of had 2 episodes going because we got cut off. But we will start at 9:30 on Tuesday nights, and then we'll just talk until we have nothing else to say, and that'll be the end of the show. We appreciate everybody who watches. And as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to Buffalo Fanatics. They're one of the best pages out there, and they showed up in the comments tonight and gave us some thumbs up and stuff. And Scott Zietz too. Thanks a lot for coming and showing support our first night. And
Thank you, guys.
Follow us Facebook, Twitter,
thank you,
wherever
guys.
you can.
We'll get better too.
Yeah, Scott, re-up that Zoom. Hey.
Yeah, all right, guys. Go Bills.
Go Bills.